So, have you ever wondered what the secret sauce is behind every single successful business? Well, turns out it's not nearly as complicated as you might think. Today, we're going to unlock the core principles that power everything, and I mean everything, from a simple lemonade stand to a global tech giant like Google. Let's dive in.
All right, here's a question for you. What does a kid selling lemonade have in common with a behemoth like Google? It sounds like the start of a bad joke, right? But the answer, well, it gets right to the heart of business. The core rules of the game are basically the same for everybody, whether you're selling sugar water on a street corner or literally shaping the future of the internet.
The best way to think about it is to imagine business as a game. And before you can even dream about winning, you've got to understand the rules of the playing field you're on. This is the economic environment, and it pretty much dictates every single move you can make.
So every business out there exists somewhere on this, let's call it a spectrum of competition. On one end, you've got perfect competition. Think of farmers selling wheat. Nobody really controls the price. And way over on the other end, you've got your local utility company, a pure monopoly with a ton of control. Figuring out where business lands on this spectrum is absolutely key to understanding its entire strategy.
Let's really hammer this home by looking at the two extremes. A wheat farmer is what we call a price taker. They have to accept whatever the market rate is, no questions asked. Your local water company, though, they're a price maker. This one little difference, the power over pricing, it changes everything. It dictates every single strategic decision a company has to make.
Okay, so once you get the rules of the game, it's time to actually make your move. And this is where the magic really happens. That little spark, the big idea that has the potential to change everything.
Let me tell you a quick story about a kid named Jack Bonono. When he was only 8 years old, he had a goal. Now, this wasn't some grand vision to change the world or build a massive empire. Nope, it was much, much simpler than that. He just really wanted a toy.
And that toy was the Lego Star Wars Death Star. The price tag? $400. A lot of money for an 8-year-old. His dad told him, sure, you can have it, but you've got to pay for it yourself. And just like that, with that one challenge, an entrepreneur was born. His first business, you guessed it, a lemonade stand.
So Jack figured out pretty fast that a simple stand wasn't going to cut it. He needed to scale up. So he took his operation to a local farmer's market. And wow, the results were amazing. He quickly learned the super important difference between sales, that's all the money coming in, and profit, which is what's actually left after you pay for everything. He didn't just buy his Lego set, he had $500 left over. Now, as an idea gets bigger, you often realize you can't do it all alone. You need a partner. But listen, this is a huge decision. You have to ask some really tough questions right at the beginning. Are you guys actually aiming for the same thing long term? Do your skills complement each other, or are you just going to get in each other's way? Can you agree on who does what? And maybe the most important question of all, do you have the same work ethic and values? Getting this right can literally make or break your entire venture.
All right, let's move on from that initial spark of an idea to the day-to-day reality of it all. Running the show is really about three things: your people, the culture you build, and the systems, the operations that hold the whole thing together.
A great way to think about a business is like a beehive. It's this incredibly complex system, right? But every single bee has a specific role to play. It doesn't matter if it's a super traditional top-down hierarchy or a more modern, flexible setup. The key is that everybody's work is coordinated and pulls in the same direction, all for that collective goal.
And speaking of people, let's talk about Howard Schultz at Starbucks. He built his entire global brand around this one powerful idea. See, it wasn't just about the quality of the coffee, it was about the quality of the people serving the coffee. He knew deep down that happy and respected employees would create an experience that would keep customers coming back again and again. And here's the thing, he didn't just talk about it, he backed it up with real action. He offered health benefits and stock options even to his part-time baristas, which was totally unheard of at the time. This wasn't just a business expense for him, it was an investment. Why? Because an employee who feels valued, who feels secure, doesn't just pour coffee. They pass that feeling of well-being onto you, the customer. And that genuine human connection, that is something competitors can't just go out and copy. It became the bedrock of one of the strongest brands in the world.
But look, there's no single magic formula for a great company culture. I mean, take Google's famously casual environment. The beanbag chairs and skateboards zipping down the halls. They weren't just fun perks. They were designed as tools to break down walls, to flatten hierarchies, and to encourage the kind of spontaneous, creative conversations that lead to world-changing ideas.
So, you've got your big idea, you've got your people, you've built a culture.
But how in the world do you know if you're actually winning? That brings us to our final section, keeping score. And in the world of business, the language of the game is finance.
Check out this number. It tells a really powerful story. In the US, the average CEO makes 271 times more than their typical worker. Whoa. Finance is the tool we use to unpack numbers just like this one, to understand the story they're telling about a company's values, its priorities, and of course, its performance. So, to really get the financial story of a company, you need to look at 3 key documents that all work together. Think of it like a health checkup. First up is the income statement. This basically asks, are we making money? It tells you if the business was profitable over a certain time period. Then, that profit information flows into the balance sheet. This one's more like a snapshot in time. It asks, what do we own and what do we owe? But here's the catch. Profit isn't the same as cash. That's where the statement of cash flows comes in. It tracks every real dollar moving in and out, asking, where did our cash come from and where did it go? You absolutely need all 3 to see the full picture. Trust me, looking at just one can be really misleading.
So from the playing field to the big idea, from the people who make it happen to the profits that keep it going, we've seen how the core of business really works. And it all comes back to that initial spark, doesn't it? An 8-year-old asking, hey, how can I earn $400? Or an entrepreneur asking, how can we solve this problem for people? So I'll just leave you with this. Every great business starts with a question. What's yours?